Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to TechGeek webinar series, our endeavor to impart techies. We believe that sharing of knowledge is the key to enhance our skills and grow us as professionals. With this principle in mind, we have initiated a series of webinars conducted by industry experts to give you all a crisp insight of various domains. The topic of today's session is Advanced Virtualization Capabilities with IBM PureFlex. Our guest speaker today is Mr. Kashish Karnik, Product Manager Pure Systems at IBM India Private Limited. Kashish looks after the IBM PureFlex portfolio for India and South Asia. In addition to this current role, he also leads initiatives around virtualization and consult for many large virtualization projects around the country. Prior to this role, he was the product manager for IBM Blade Center. Before joining IBM, Kashish did his MBA from UNC Kennan Flagler Business School, where he worked with the IBM Systems and Technology Group's Research and Development Center on IBM's desktop virtualization offerings. He has consulted for multiple virtualization projects across the country, across industry verticals. So without further delay, I introduce you all to our guest speaker. Over to you, Mr. Kashish.
Thank you. Thank you, and welcome to Advanced Virtualization with IBM PureFlex. In the short 45 minutes that we have, I will endeavor to get down into some advanced concepts and try and not only talk to you about what IBM PureFlex does, but also in this event try and give you some new ideas on the kind of technologies that I see customers across India and in Southeast Asia going through. Right now, you can see the first slide. It's essentially advanced virtualization with IBM PureFlex, but what I want to point out here is the entire concept around this is delivering open standards to customers. Now, from April 2012, we introduced a new set of systems called IBM Pure Systems, and within that there was the infrastructure system called IBM PureFlex. That is the system that we will be talking about today. Within and what we will do is first spend a little time on understanding what is IBM PureFlex and Pure Systems. Then we'll move on to the heart of PureFlex, which is the Flex Systems Manager, which has all of the advanced virtualization, server storage, and networking. Post that, we'll get into details about how virtualization affects through FSM the network as well as the storage layer, and how you are able to see examples of how hardware and virtualization layers together work. Okay, and post that we'll open it up for questions. So moving on, PureFlex is essentially a concept of taking compute, virtualizing that, storage, virtualizing that, taking the network, virtualizing that as well, and doing it across 4 different hypervisors, which is a Unix hypervisor by IBM called Power VM. We have VMware from VMware, Hyper-V from Microsoft, and KVM, which is from Red Hat, but belongs to the overall open source community. Right? And when you're able to take the hardware layer, which is networking, server, and storage, put a virtualization layer across each of these stacks, put a cloud layer on top, we end up getting, with the IBM Smart Cloud Foundations, you end up getting a completely virtualized cloud-ready infrastructure. Okay? And what we're going to do is we're going to spend time on Flex System Manager. Now, Flex System Manager is the system that integrates with the entire stack. Okay, so you have on a normal infrastructure, you have a server component, you have a storage component, you have the network component, right? And all of them need to work together to deliver an application. These can be run on virtual machines, right? The FSM cuts across the management stack of all of these layers, where we're able to optimize, to monitor and alert, maintain and update, troubleshoot, and as well as deploy virtual machines, networking, storage, switches, whatever have you, right? In a very simple, fast, and integrated manner. In fact, Um, the entire concept of the system is to make life simpler by allowing you to monitor alerts, problem management through automated resolution processes uh, with a lot of experience in integration that comes from IBM. You're able to reduce administrative retooling costs by leveraging single point of control for compute network storage and for many virtualization management needs. And when we get into some of the automation capabilities, you'll see how we're able to make things easier and faster, right? You're going to start seeing a lot of very simple GUI and day-to-day features that you use in normal life into this kind of integrated stack. And because now you're going to get all the 4 layers to work together, things get very, very interesting, because as many of you who are with us may know, moment you start getting your application to run across 3 or 4 layers, it gets very, very complicated, right? And today, with advanced virtualization skills, we are able to make a lot of that complexity away, take it away, and simplify it, right? Now, one of the ways how we're able to do the simple aspect is today we have the capability of, from a simple aspect, giving you a very flexible, very intuitive user interface, which not only has pictorial representations of various components across your infrastructure, but you can also manage your infrastructure via your mobile phones or your tablet PCs, whether it be Android, Apple, or BlackBerry, doesn't matter. The applications are available for you to control your entire infrastructure from your mobile device. For example, you're sitting in a movie theater and there's a critical alert. At least in order to get out of the movie and run to your office, you can manage the stuff right there and then. We've given you a lot of capabilities that are very fast. Imagine, I mean, all of us use Google every day for almost any activity connected to the net, to IT. Now we have a Google-like search feature that allows us to search across servers, storage, networking, and the hypervisor environment, along with setup wizards that make getting new infrastructure up and running very quickly. You have a concept of configuration patterns that you could consider it.
Kashish, can you, Kashish, I would like to interrupt you. Can you be a bit more loud, please? The attendees are not able to hear you. A bit more loud.
Is that better now?
Yeah.
Better now?
Yeah.
Okay. So the idea would be to try and take away the complexity that you have across stacks and make it simple, single screen management, where not only do you have access to every different stack, but when you take an action on one particular stack, it gets applied across the other stacks as well. So, for example, if you're upgrading the firmware of a physical server, the system knows that in order to do that simple task, you need to have access to the hypervisor, to the network, as well as the storage, and all these stacks have to be aware that you're bringing the server down, right? The system gets intelligent. Now, the Flexible Systems Manager is essentially an appliance that offers the best that IBM has to offer. And it gives you the basic care for feeding the hardware, giving you a single control for server storage network, as well as giving you the flexibility and choice to choose the hypervisor of your platform without disrupting your experience. So for example, if you had to do VMware or Hyper-V, the basic license of Flex System Manager would allow you to integrate hardware management with the hypervisor management, simplifying everything, right? But if you wanted to run Power VM or KVM, you could take the advanced license and do that. So therefore, in one single system, you could run 4 different hypervisors, sharing the same storage, the same network properties, and yet being able to comply to all the policies of your infrastructure, right? So from a platform management, one of the things that we're able to do with this magical appliance is we're able to reduce the initial setup time and get your systems up and running. So for example, if you had to install a brand new server that you got, rather than going and upgrading different firmwares, getting the cards, all of that ready, for every component, or for example, putting a new operating system on every component on every server, you don't need to do that. You just go and install the appliance, start it up, it automatically detects, does a discovery, does an inventory, goes back and checks all the upgrades that are available, then updates them automatically for you with your permission, and does it in parallel, so you don't have to sit and wait, right? At the same time, not only new deployments, but existing deployments of yours, when you have to do maintenance and management and whatnot, all of that again gets automated with the system, right? From a virtualization standpoint, however, you can either use KVM, VMware, or Hyper-V, or Power-VM, as we said earlier. But for all of these hypervisors, we're able to do lifecycle management. We can create, edit, start, stop, and delete your VMs for all your hypervisors. You can do image management, resource pooling for storage, network, and virtual servers. Now, this is important here because normally you have to go and do everything in silos, right? You have to go and manage your hypervisor separately, manage your storage separately, manage your network separately. That is not necessary. Now you're able to do resource pooling across the entire stack. We're able to set policies, and based on policies get virtual machine migrations done. So rather than waiting for a system to go down, depending on the policies that you set, the system automatically takes actions to balance out your workloads, to give you higher available workloads, and be able to deliver this easily. From a network perspective, the key thing here is in the system is today the new switches that IBM is offering are virtual machine aware. Okay, these switches can see the IP addresses of your VMs today. The advantage this gives you is when you start moving and provisioning for various VLANs, in the normal scenario, your physical switches couldn't see the IP addresses of the virtual machines. Today you can. And you're able to manage a good QoS also at the same time. Then you're able to do automated logical network provisioning based on your virtualized infrastructure, not your physical infrastructure only, right? And apply that to various VMs/various vSwitches. And then on top of that, we can end up doing storage virtualization, where not only do we allow, with the V7000, allow you to virtualize your existing storage, so you may have other non-IBM SAN storages with you. With V7000, we can virtualize the existing SAN storage and bring it into the system. So as you can see from a virtualization management, a virtual machine integration, network virtualization, virtualization, all of that taken into consideration. Now, getting all these three components to work is where the magic is, and that's what this webinar is about, right? I'm not going to spend too much time on configuration and support, but for the kind of support that you expect from IBM, basic capabilities to high-end capabilities, all of that backed up where you can get IBM to be aware of your system and any infrastructure issues that might arise. Moment the system recognizes it, it automatically can log a call for you and get it. Yeah? All right. So, what are the features that typically come with this? And we've talked about some of them. I didn't spend time on security. As many of you know, today security is becoming the biggest bottleneck for moving towards a cloud/virtualization environment. With this appliance that we have, we're able to give a centralized security policy across various chassis and do enforcement of the security policy as well. We are able to do central user management, and we are able to manage device configuration centrally from the FSM and not in some other repository that is not as per your compliance policies, right? And considering the fact that we are moving towards an infrastructure today where many customers today are keeping the VM network traffic as close as possible to the hosts, all of the earlier functional advanced features that you needed in your core switches are now being available at a distribution layer, allowing you to keep your VM traffic as close as possible to the hosts, which not only helps bring down your costs because you don't have to invest in very high-end core switches, but it gives you very intelligent VM management capabilities. So what are those integration capabilities that Flex system can deliver, right? So, and as I said earlier, there are multiple hypervisors, and for those hypervisors, we have a high level of hardware integration. Now, this is where the advanced capabilities step in, because today, when you're doing virtualization, it's a separate software that you need to use. And that software is not aware of what's happening at the hardware level. Similarly, the hardware is not aware of what's happening at the VM level, right? Automation plans are the way forward when using integrated systems. Today, if the hardware knows that something is not right, for example, if the hardware knows that your RAM is about to fail, rather than waiting for the server to go down, it will go and inform the hypervisor, please make a change accordingly. Now, these are the capabilities as an example of what an automation plan is, which is a handle PFA, which is predictive failure alert. You can set an automation plan based on resource threshold, saying that if the CPU utilization exceeds so much, get a virtual machine migration done. You can do power plans, right? You're able to do centralized VM network policy and VM level firewall, leveraging network virtualization, integrating with VMware Standard Edition. You can create varied storage profiles on the V7000 with thin provisioning or easy tiering. So you can go and say this storage space that I've allocated for VMware is under thin provisioning, and rather than using, in a normal scenario, if I have to use 5 terabytes, the system will actually allocate only 3 terabytes to you because it's able to provision this accordingly. Right? Now you get all of these features with the entry-level VMware Standard Edition license. Right? So it still makes a big impact to what you are currently running. Now, however, what happens when we take on when you have VMware Enterprise Plus completely integrated into your stack? This is where it gets really, really interesting. In addition to the hardware capabilities that I just spoke of automation plans and VM level replication, we have the capability of taking the vSwitch of VMware, which comes with distributed network switch, and offload that to the physical switch. So VMware and IBM came together to create this virtual switch appliance that transfers control of the entire network, the virtual network, to the physical switches, which means the network administrator, who earlier had problems, now gets full control of the virtual and the physical environment and is able to do all of his traffic management, VM settings, physical switch settings, everything that very quickly. So DVS 5000B is one that does that job, right? And especially when you have very, very large scale deployments of 100, 150, 200 virtual machines, you typically have 10 to 15 VLANs in there, and managing your virtual machines in that VLAN environment becomes extremely difficult. And that's when Enterprise Plus with VMware and IBM PureFlex is able to deliver, right? Now, at the same time, there will be some customers who will say, I want to use KVM as a hypervisor. Now, KVM as a hypervisor, as you all know, is a Linux-based hypervisor. While VMware is the market leader today, Linux-based companies are also looking at options as this, right? It's an enterprise class hypervisor today, and this again has a lot of the capabilities along with PureFlex that we're able to deliver. Some of them are not only automation plans, which I spoke about, but we're able to create system policies for a set of VMs, right? So that's what we call system pools. Resource controls for a set of VMs. So you can allocate specific resource controls for CPU, memory, network, or I/O for KVM. We're able to do green pools and performance hotspot detections on KVM environments, right? And able to do multi-VM workload deployment as well. And we spoke of all these things. The key here is, even with Linux, we're able to enhance the power of KVM as a hypervisor. With VMware, we were able to make it more hardware aware, so that you could take control of your infrastructure and your hypervisor at one shot. With KVM, we're able to make KVM even better, because integrating it directly at a code level with the hardware makes a big difference. But what about Hyper-V? Right? Hyper-V 2012 has got an assist Microsoft System Center where we are able to directly integrate with Microsoft System Center Configuration Manager, where you can do your driver firmware updates on IMM and UEFI, where we're able to do health monitoring of the servers using System Center Operations Manager. We are able to integrate with the VM Manager. So we are able to integrate physical events that occur and have them reflected and actions taken by the virtual environment to counter those issues. And of course, we also have the entry-level Essentials Plus bundle integrated. But the most important thing is this integrates with system architecture, with Microsoft System Center Orchestrator as well. So the entire hardware gets integrated by Microsoft System Center. So for a customer, now you do not have to worry about managing multiple systems of server, storage, networking, hypervisor. Now you do all of it at one go, right? And that's the value of this. For example, what all can we do? You can do configuration manager using for OS deployment. Deploy your Windows OS, right? Or enable seamless update management for IBM servers, right? So the firmware update gets done with zero downtime, because the hardware manager does it by moving the virtual machines. The networking ensures that your virtual machines, when migrating, the VLAN settings are not changed, and all of that gets done seamlessly, right? In fact, one of the most important thing is you also have the integration with the virtualization layer, which gives you the ability to monitor alerts for the physical host resources in the virtualized environment, right? Now, within FSM itself, if you're using KVM, for example, what you're seeing now are some screenshots of the console that give you the capability to manage your virtual servers, do lifecycle management, create topology maps, which is there on the lower bottom right of the screen, create an empty virtual server, or deploy an existing virtual appliance that you created, which contains the operating system as well as in the application. You can edit these servers as and when they're running, and obviously relocate as you need. FSM becomes a single point of control when doing Power VM and KVM environments. When it comes to VMware and Hyper-V, the control is given over to the VMware and Hyper-V consoles, so that you as customers can start getting a seamless environment. Now I'm going to pause over here because this is the point that I want to make. Things are, because our industry is getting really complicated, customers have always wanted something vendors to come back and simplify things, right? And FSM becomes your central window, right? Now, we're also able to do image management. Now, here's the interesting part. There's a concept of virtual appliances coming in where not only do you create a VM, but you create a VM and deploy an OS, get the app running, all of that created at your site. Then, when you want to replicate that same application at a different level, you're able to capture that as an appliance on this system. And this works with both VMware and KVM as well, and Power VM, right? So VMware also has it, and we're able to integrate the VMware's appliance as well. So if you think about it this way, the clear aspect here is when I want to do virtualization and I want to when I want to get my system to be a little smart, very smart, the system is able to, not only since it has access to the hardware resources, you will also need access to the network and the storage, and create intelligent actions that you can set off as policies to various customers, right? And as you can see on the slide, there are some screenshots as well as some capabilities that you can do with availability automations, relocation of virtual workloads in response to predictive host failures without disruption, restarting virtual workloads when a host fails, automate remote restart of virtual workloads in response to a host failure with minimal disruption, and so on and so forth. Now remember, that's what KVM and VMware. Here's a slide that talks about what all you can do when you combine hardware and hypervisor integration. So, for example, if you take the concept of image management, right? Whether you're managing Power VM images, VMware images, KVM, or Hyper-V, doesn't matter. You can always get the same console to do the job, right? Being able to workload management, being able to automate virtual server, network, and storage resource allocation, and I think this point is extremely important because it gives you a clear view of how various systems get integrated with each other, right? So the key part that we've seen across the world is that customers are really liking the aspect of relocation plans when they're able to integrate the hardware capabilities. The hardware is becoming intelligent. Hypervisor is intelligent. So getting all of this to work for you, simplifying it, right? Now I'm going to get into a little bit of technical details on some of the new technologies that are coming out on the server and the storage front, sorry, no, storage and network front, which are enabling all of these additional capabilities, right? Now, the first part is something called VM ready. Now, traditionally, your physical switches are not able to see the IP addresses of your virtual machines. Okay, you can see the physical server, but you absolutely difficult or impossible for any of your Catalyst or your older switches, 1 gigabit switches, to be able to see the VM traffic. The new switches that are coming out, and I was one of the first to do that, these switches are now able to see the IP address of the virtual machine. So now the VLAN traffic migrations that you were earlier wanting to do now get done seamlessly on this, right? So the network administrator, let me explain to you how this persistent connectivity goes on, right? So network admin sets up a library logical network profiles, which allows him to maintain his security. Okay. The server admins can then use their virtualization console, whether VMware, FSM, Flex System, or Hyper-V, doesn't matter, to associate the VMs with the logical network profiles created. So now, when you move your VMs, since a logical network profile is created on the switch, it doesn't matter. The switch knows where to direct the VLAN traffic, thus taking and fixing a lot of the other issues. For example, right, today's VM management depends on separate management and administration of physical networking. Right, you have virtualization management tools to focus on the hypervisor network and network configuration of physical switches. Therefore, there are a lot of delays and errors. By creating a logical network in the virtual world, all of that complexity gets managed by the system, reducing human error. Okay? So when you start moving your virtual machines, the system knows where to move the VMs without disrupting any of your VLANs. Right? That's one of those things that explains how this virtualization piece works. Right? Now, so when you want to do a dynamic configuration of LAN on OS, take this animation for example, right? The setup here that you see, I'm going to refresh in 1 or 2 seconds, is all of it connecting to a single network, right? Now within this physical network, what we're going to do is we're going to have 2 separate networks, logical network A and network B, right? Now, I am able to associate the various VMs as per those logical network profiles that include the VLANs and the QoS attributes that are automatically applied when VMs are deployed and moved around. Okay, so regardless of where you move your VMs, your network properties follow through. Right? Now, with the logical networks, right? Network admins are able to provision for new virtual machines, and since you know a new virtual machine that is being provisioned needs to get a particular network profile, just associate it and all of the network properties get automatically attached to it. Right? This gives you a lot of quality and efficiency in VM management on networking. Right? Now, in the beginning of the slide deck, I talked to you about showing open standards-based virtualization, right? Open standards. So 802.1 QDG is an IEEE protocol that has enabled these physical switches to see the VM IP address. Now, the key part here is this protocol is limited not to IBM, but is being adopted by Juniper, by almost all the other vendors out there, HP, Dell, HP, Post-10, Extreme, QLogic, Emulex, you name them, right? Everybody, well, except Cisco. Cisco is on a different protocol called 802.1 QBH, right? So you may have Juniper switches, you may have any other vendor switches, doesn't matter. Being on open standards, all of this works through, right? Storage management also is integrated into this system. Now, there are 2 parts to this. One, the system, the storage, the V7000 has virtualization built inside it. It also can virtualize your existing storage. Now, all of this is being seen from the FSM, and it's a source code level integration down there. So the server, storage, networking, all of that in one, right? Now, the V7000 connected via the FSM, and as you can see, right, for many of you, on the left-hand side of the screenshot, you're seeing the various server, you're seeing the host type, and then you will see the storage name also. Now, that gets integrated into the vCenter storage management as well, right? So you're able to see which LUNs are allocated to which VMs, and you're able to map the connectivity between the virtual server and the physical storage. So then you're able to show the storage consumption by virtual server regardless of the hypervisor. And this is very, very important, especially when you have multi-hypervisor environments, right? Now, you're also able to create storage volumes, and those storage volumes can be provisioned or based on easy tiering, which is hotspot detection, and it's very simple, very easy to use. Because a lot of times customers have come back and said, you know, I have a server admin, I have a network admin, I have a storage admin. They don't talk to each other, they don't like each other, right? Now, it doesn't matter. All three of them have a common console to work with, which is very simple to use and keeps everybody happy, right? And you can predefine you can do things like predefining your storage volumes, but then storage is wasted on you. So I'm just going to go very quickly through the remaining screenshots. This shows you how quickly you can access various aspects of the storage, right? Now, from a virtual server management, I mean, we spent some time on that, but here what you're seeing is how this FSM integrates with VMware. So how the hardware manager integrates with the hypervisor manager. You can launch the VMware client. The inventory screen will show you VMs and ESX servers in the box, so you will be able to see on the VMs. And the vCenter can then integrate with the hardware console, right? So, for example, you're creating a logical plan, right? Now, if you want to do a firmware upgrade on a physical server, what you would do is a non-disruptive update. Now, I'll explain how that works. FSM determines that there is a firmware update for one of the servers it is managing in the update manager, right? So what happens is that the system admin chooses to vacate the host system prior to installing the update to prevent the need for a planned downtime. So you do a vMotion and you move the VMs. The FSM task, once the FSM knows that the VMs have been moved, using vMotion, then it knows that there are no more VMs in there and it can shut it down. Then FSM applies the update to the server and shuts it down, or shuts it down, applies the update, checks for compliances, and when the work is done, move it back. The VMs can be moved back once a firmware update has been applied, right? Plain and simple. That's a plain and simple relocation plan, right? You have another issue of availability, okay? So suppose there's a hardware error that comes in. Okay, what we call a PF error, a predictive failure alert, which is a critical error. Let's say hard drive is about to fail, RAM is about to fail. The hardware manager will inform VMware vCenter that this hardware needs to be done and will move the VMs to a spare server. And once that part is done, the updates are applied, right? You can also do virtual appliances with integrated VMware. So you can create the virtual appliance in Flex System Manager and get VMware to deploy it for you, or vice versa, right? And this is this example here in slide number 40 is how you can go and pick up the VM appliance from the metadata that is sitting in the Flex System repository. Select the VM virtual appliance, pick up the VMFS data store, select the VMware host, and you're done. Right? Automatically deploy a VMware appliance through the FSM or do it through the VMware console. That's up to you to decide, right? And I'm coming down to the last two slides. And the other simple thing that we've done is, this is an example of Google search. Just type in a few characters and the system searches across the switch, across the SASE, across the storage, across the hypervisor. All right, so in short, what we're trying to do is give you a lot of capabilities to manage your server, storage, networking, and the hypervisor from that single console. And at the same time, give you the intelligence to see all of this to go. And that gets integrated, funny enough, into a mobile platform. So whether you use BlackBerry, Apple, or Android, it won't matter. All of these apps are available on your phones that you can, all you need is a connection and you can get it done, up and running. With that, I'd like to open it up for any questions. So I have a question here. What do you mean by, and does it mean that I have to buy everything from IBM? Flex System Manager is an optional appliance that ships with PureFlex. Many customers in India have bought it, but have just bought the chassis and the hardware, don't choose to use it. But many customers have found it a great value when they are in a world, when they want to do all these kind of things, right? And it ensures that customers always have an open choice. You can use your own storage. You may not have some of the storage capabilities through FSM, but it still means you can integrate your existing storages into it. You can connect it by a normal SAN switch, or you could use B7000 virtualization capabilities to virtualize your remaining storages. From a networking standpoint, FC, FCOE, Ethernet, you name it, all of that is also integrated here. All right, any other questions? Here's one. The roadmap for the system. The system is designed for the next decade and will support technologies going all the way up to 100 Gbps of Ethernet, supports the highest processor clock speeds today, which are 135 watt, 2.9 gigahertz, 8-core systems. It will also support the 150 watt systems coming out in the near future from Intel. IBM is committed, as usual, to deliver on technologies and deliver on its promise on investment protection. I have another question here on FSM. Does it manage Hyper-V? Okay, so a little clarification here. Hyper-V is not managed per se. The system reports into Hyper-V, same thing with VMware, right? So it acts like a slave and it connects into the storage into that console over there, and is able to deliver on the integration with these. Okay, any other questions thus far? So one Mr. Prashant writes, what do you think of how many of these systems will be installed by the end of 2014? We already have 50 plus systems installed across the country in the year 2012. We expect this number to triple or quadruple this year itself. So 2014 is a number that could be anyone's guess. It's going to be a very, very large number for us, and I think we will be able to deliver a very strong capability. Mr. Dharendra Kumar asks, why is consolidation and flex system manager important? Today, IT's complexity happens because of increasing the number of applications that a company runs. The moment you start crossing 35, 40 different applications, a lot of different complications start coming up. For example, 35 to 40 different applications would result in 40 different virtual machines or servers, each of them having at least 100 or 200 gigabyte of storage, translating to at least 7 or 8 terabytes of storage. And considering the size of the company, there will be times when customers will come back and say, you will say that I want a high availability policy as well. I want something that allows me to do a DR, or I want to be ready for cloud. Consolidation helps get you first to the optimization play to allow you to squeeze out all of the inefficiencies that are there in your infrastructure. Virtualizing is a way is the advanced way of doing that. But when you start doing that and start reaping the financial benefits of virtualization, what a lot of times happens is that level of complexity becomes difficult to manage. And that is what Flex System Manager is able to address. By being able to have one console for server, storage, networking, you are able to do all of this, right? FSM does manage different server hardware platforms. It manages x86 and Unix from IBM. Unfortunately, as of now, it does not manage non-IBM hardware, right? So if you had an existing rack server from another vendor, Flex System Manager would not be able to do that because that OEM wouldn't allow us. That's one. Second, most customers today are wanting to move to a virtualized environment, right? So by doing all of that, those capabilities of managing non-IBM environments are not activated on the system, but at the same time, you can move the virtual machines around to do that, right? FSM does monitoring of various different resources. So it monitors the server utilization, storage utilization, how much space is available, where you can even do replication configuration and replication settings through the FSM itself. And the network does, you're able to do flow control, you're able to map your VLAN IDs, you're able to manage how your traffic flows all across, right? FSM does that monitoring as well. Right? Is the question of Mr. Rakesh, what is that similar to VLAN routing? Then yes, it is. So you can do VLAN routing because you're giving 10 gigabit FCOE or layer 3 switches. So you can connect your create your DMZ. You can do up to 4,000 VLANs on these switches. VLAN routing is done on this as well. Yes, and the whole aspect here is that VLAN routing is not done only for physical network traffic. It is also done for virtual machine traffic, right? And getting that put into FSM, that's the key. Yeah. So that brings me to another point, which is in a virtualized environment, ideally, what we all want to do is try and make things as simple as possible. And I come back to this point of having a flatter network, right? How many of you may be provisioning or budgeting currently for upgrading your network infrastructure and or for virtualization? One thought that I would like to leave you with would be, if you're doing that, try and see if you can manage to have a flatter network where rather than spending more money on the core switch, you end up picking up switches that are VM aware and are in your distribution/access layer. Obviously, that will get you to be at a lower price point. But at the same time, you'll be able to manage your traffic flow. There are other technologies called OpenFlow, for example, that is based on, again, the open standard that can allow you to define how you're going to move your traffic around. And we already have products around this, but going forward, you will start seeing more and more from other vendors on software-defined networking, which essentially gives you control of your network traffic. In the sense, you can choose how to do the routing. You can define the path that you want your network system to undertake and not be fixed to the paths that the OEM states. So the control plane, for example, of a network switch gets put onto the hypervisor. So in a virtualized world, when a VM is moving, you can control the flow of the VM, where it needs to go, how it needs to flow, what is the pattern that you need to use, all of that. Right? FSM essentially is designed to manage only IBM Flex system components with capabilities. So it will manage the FC switch of Brocade or QLogic from its console as long as it is inside the chassis. But if you're talking about director class switches that are not a part of the Flex system, then yes, they would be outside, right? So we will not be able to do that. Again, Flex System Manager is meant for configuring everything that is inside the Flex system. For non-IBM/IBM servers, if you want to configure, Flex System Manager integrates into softwares like Systems Director, and the Operation Suite, and other HP and BMG softwares that allow you to manage your remaining infrastructure. So this system has been created. Okay, so think of it this way. Okay, in order for us to give this deep level of management and simplicity, we needed to have access to the source code of the entire stack, of the server, of the storage, of the network, all of that, right? If I had access to the source code of non-IBM servers, well, I pretty much own that other company, right? And that's actually the bottleneck. Today, the industry uses API calls in order to do all the work. Flex System Manager has been designed to have control of the entire source code of that stack. And because you have access to source code, you can do all of these automation plans and high-end stuff, and you will continue to see more things come. So FSM manages only the IBM Flex system hardware. By adding FSM into the normal Flex chassis, you get a complete integrated, truly integrated storage, integrated network, integrated compute, and all of them are aware of what's going on. But in other integrated stacks from other vendors, you don't have a choice. You have to buy whatever they give you. In our case, you can choose. If you want it, if you really see value in it, then you can buy it. Otherwise, just buy the hardware and get your job done. Right? I think we have another 3 minutes more to go. Any other questions? Some very good questions that came, so thank you so much.
Well, those were the only questions we had for the day, Mr. Kashish. I'm really thankful to you for this insightful presentation. It was a great session from your end. I would also like to thank all our participants for their support in making this webinar a success. The recording of this session would be available on techgeek.com by tomorrow. Thank you all. Have a great evening.